You can join the Tea Party action from your home if you go to foxnation.com. We've got all-day Tea Party coverage for you and a virtual tax day Tea Party.
Hello, YouTube. This is Bookworm86, breaking a very long silence because I finally decided that it's time I said something. Whatever the Tea Partiers started out as, be it economic protesters or people who disagreed about particular policies, it's become something else. The lunatic fringe has taken over, and they have gotten consistently uglier. Recently, a Maine school teacher found out that the Republicans who had held their caucus at the school had taken issue with some of the things that they saw in his classroom. They went so far as to steal a poster that had featured a collage of the labor movement in American history and objected loudly to the fact that he had been shipped copies of the U.S. Constitution from the ACLU. They didn't have a problem with the Constitution. They had a problem with the fact that he got them from the ACLU. They further babbled on about how so many of the posters and decorations, made by the kids themselves, by the way, were anti-American and were upset by what they called a lack of a more balanced point of view. Now, exactly what that means is rather questionable, since the old Republican platform of Maine was tossed out in favor of a new one that reads like a collection of conspiracy, lunacy, and buzzwords. Now a couple of Tea Party leaders have gotten themselves into hot water with the general public. Rand Paul, a Tea Party favorite, defending the free speech right of businesses to discriminate against customers of particular types that they might not like. This was an issue that was resolved a long time ago. It does not need to be revisited again. Then we've got Mark Williams, the Tea Party Express leader, who made the news recently after a particularly odious rant about the horror of a mosque being built a few blocks away from the World Trade Center site. Evidently, he forgot his own prior rants about how important the Constitution is, and that the Constitution's freedom of religion applies even to non-Christians, and even non-white non-Christians. And that's not even mentioning the influence of creationism, homophobia, xenophobia, zealotry, nationalism. I'd like to think that the Republicans are not a collection of lunatics, anti-intellectuals, and religious bigots, but the influence of the teabaggers and the C Street family make it harder and harder to see that. Glenn Beck, a man whose raving has long since crossed the line well into paranoid insanity, is still held in high esteem by many Tea Partiers. Men like Bill O'Reilly and Rush Limbaugh, for whom facts and truth are purely optional in favor of spin and entertainment, are very loud and visible icons who claim to speak for Republicans everywhere. When a Republican senator dared to criticize Limbaugh, he was everything short of publicly crucified, thanks in a large part to the shock jocks fan base. Now the Republican Party seems to have a tiger by the tail. The paranoid, the bigoted, have almost certainly claimed the limelight from almost all of the Republican moderates, if there are any more. I don't want to think of Republican as synonymous with crazy, but it's getting harder not to do so. There was also a very nasty scene recently where a veteran who had apparently lost both his legs in war was accosted by a group of young Republican Tea Party members at a protest rally. He'd set himself up to kind of counter-protest, and these young guys got into his face, started yelling at him, throwing money at him in the most insulting manner possible, and generally treating this man with slightly more disrespect than you would a cockroach. This was a man who had given his all serving his country, and these guys, who apparently hadn't served a day in their lives, were calling him a leech. It's kind of hard to get around something like that.